This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
A good moyed, Chag Kosher v'Sameach. The events that are taking place in college campuses across the United States of America, the anti-Semitism, which is so blatant, was recently compared to the way the climate of universities in Germany in the 1930s. And to have public demonstrations accusing the state of Israel of genocide is nothing short of a modern-day blood libel, where a country was attacked, where thousands were killed and molested, and to destroy those who are threatening their existence. It's compared, they're being accused of genocide. It is nothing short of a modern-day blood libel. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is, why is this happening Pesach time? And anyone who's a student of history will observe that blood libels were part and parcel of our observance of the Yom Tov of Pesach from time immemorial. You know, the first instance of accused ritual murder took place in 1144, which was fabricated by a Jewish apostate, Theobald of Cambridge and Norwich. 2 years later, after the first blood libel, the Second Crusade began, and blood libels became prime ammunition to fuel devastation of communities across Europe. In the 13th century, starting in 1264, libels spread to England. 1291, Jews were legally banned from England. In the city of Prague in 1389, on the last day of Pesach, thousands of Jews were massacred in the because of libels. Blood libels were not germane only to the Christian world. There were blood libels in the Arab world. Reb Kloinemus Bal Hanes, who was buried on Har HaZeisim, saved the Jews from a blood libel as well. Toward the end of the Middle Ages, the blood libel spread to many countries. Turkey, Egypt, Syria, even in Hebron, there were blood libels. Belief in blood libels became one of the basic tenets of Christianity. They frequently brought about great Jewish tragedy. Scholars estimate between 1880 and 1900, there were over 100 instances of blood libels against European Jews. Historians write, there was no city in all of Russia, Lithuania, Poland that did not suffer. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, historically, and even today in our times, in 2024, why do these tragedies happen, and why do they happen Pesach time? And Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, and I also found this in the writings of Reb Chaim Falaji, in a work that he wrote in tribute to Sir Moses Montefiore, they both write that a blood libel, it was a punishment for the Jewish people for the sin of the sale of Yosef. We sold Yosef, we dipped his tunic in blood, and we asked our father Yaakov, do you recognize this tunic? We created the first libel, and therefore this is a punishment, midah k'neged midah, quid pro quo. But by the way, the question then is, why do these tragedies seem to happen Pesach time? So I want to share with you two stunning insights. The first from Reb Chaim Falaji. Reb Chaim Falaji says that the Almighty, in His infinite mercy on the Jewish people, makes it occur specifically Pesach time. Why Pesach time? Because Pesach, we perform more mitzvahs than any other time of the whole year. We have a tradition, there are 12 specific mitzvahs we do the night of the Seder. Ba'avor zeh. We have a further tradition from the Vilna Gaon. There are 64 expanded mitzvahs that we do the night of the Seder, and some even record. Rav Shmuel Hamner records, there are 168 merits we accrue the night of the Seder. So God, in His infinite mercy, in order to protect the Jewish people, has these events that, if they have to happen, they happen at a time when we have the most protection, when we perform the most mitzvahs. So when we hear on the news, these events are happening, we have to thank Hashem they happen now, because, so to speak, now is the time that we are offered the most protection. But what's very interesting is, this is the explanation given by Reb Chaim Falaji. Rav Matasio Salomon Zecher Tzaddik Livracha offered another insight. He says that if blood libels are a punishment for the sale of Yosef, And the sale of Yosef was the primary cause of why the Jewish people went down to Egypt. So every Pesach, it is, so to speak, revisited upon us. Are we still guilty of that sin that made us go down to Egypt in the first place? Namely, the sale of Yosef, which translates to mean, is there discord, and are the Jewish people today fragmented, and can we not get along with our brother today, with our own family members, with our own community members, and with members of the Jewish nation at large? Because if we are still guilty of that sin, which caused us to go down to Mitzrayim in the first place, God reminds us, specifically Pesach time, hey, that sin of the sale of Yosef, it's still prevalent among you. You still need to fix it. You still need to correct it. So the news that is unfolding before our eyes is a very timely message and wake-up call that the root of the sin of the sale of Yosef is something we still have to correct. So on the one hand, Reb Chaim Falaji says, it's a great kindness of Hashem that it happens now at a time we're most protected, and at the same time, it's also a very directed and pointed message to us that we need to get our act together, specifically in the area of how we get along with our own brothers and sisters. Wishing everyone Chag Kosher V'Sameach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.